So it was a solid week this week with a bunch of good books, no major titles in the sense of any events or things like that, at least what I got, but some solid books. So let's see what made my top 3 for the week. And coming in at number 3 is Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 1. This book was surprisingly good to me. I mean, I'm always a sucker for, the end of the world, apocalyptic type stuff. Now, this book right here, it's basically about these two in this boat. You got Mezzy, the girl, and then Mace, the boy. Now, the way this book starts off, it don't really tell you what happened, why we're at where we're at, or any of those details yet. So we don't know exactly why the world is in the state that it's in or any of that. But the way the book starts off is Mezzy, which we come to find out that that's her name, Esmeralda, but goes by Mezzy. She's rowing a boat through polluted water, like trash just everywhere, and apparently she's been rowing this boat nearly 20 days at this point, and it don't really say where she's going or anything, but she's running from somebody because she had a get out, what do they call it, a bag, like a get out bag or whatever it's called, and she escaped from something. So she's on this boat for nearly 20 days, just rowing somewhere, and she's just rowing, man, and then somehow or another, she don't come across anybody. She's like the only person, and she actually preferred it that way. But everything changes when she got this leak in her boat, and the boat starts to sink. So she had to avoid the water, and she's freaking out. So she had to avoid, I guess, getting in the water. So she's hopping across trash and things like that. And then she gets into this tower. Now, she's right outside the tower. But once she gets right outside the tower, Mace, he sees her. He's the only person in this entire tower. And he's been living there for years by himself. And he's totally fine with that. But anyway, she starts to get attacked by this octopus, whatever kind of thing or whatever, and Mace, he's like, you know what? Should I boom her? I think that's what he called it. He's gonna boom her, basically shoot her, or whatever. But he don't. So he ends up bringing her inside the tower. She's out of food. She's hungry. And basically he lives off of vending machine food, but he has a ton of vending machine food. He has a very quirky, goofy, very innocent personality, and she is part of this outside world where she's just fighting for her life and very tense and very on the edge, so to speak. So two conflicting personalities right off the gate, but it works. And basically she's ready to go. He wants her to stay, and yeah, there was this very weird part. He's given a tour of the tower. He's given her a tour of the tower, and he has this whole building almost like a theme park almost, because every floor has a different theme or so to speak. You got the safe room where it's just a bunch of padded pillows. You got like the water park kind of thing going on here called the River Boom, and then the book pool where it's a pool, but it's not water, it's books. So, I mean, yeah, the elevator zoo, you got the inventing room. It's got a whole thing. But as the tour goes along, they walk by this door right here, and it's all, keep out, police taped off or whatever. That's his parents' room. That's Mace's parents' room. And you don't find out what's going on with that until a little bit later in the book. So anyway, he gives her the food, the vending machine food and all that. And he tries to convince her to stay. She leaves. She ends up leaving. When she leaves, that's when he realizes, he's like, man, I never known this feeling, to be alone. Because he's never been around people his entire life or most of his life or whatever. So he's alone now. So she's already gone. She left. He packs a ridiculous bag and chases after her and finds her and catches up to her. And yeah, that's him. That's her. So then years later, you know, this creepy guy right here or whatever, he has Mace and strapped down to a table with like a bunch of knives surrounding him, and he's looking, this guy, he's looking for Mezzy, and yeah, Mace has grown, man. He's definitely grown. Look at him. This is years later now, and he looks more serious. He looks a little bit more rough to the world, and yeah, he's been through some things apparently. And yeah, so I'm guessing we'll find out what happens. But yeah, this book, it left me on the edge of my seat, especially towards the end. Like, wow, like, wait, what? So yeah, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 1. That's my number 3 book of the week. I can't wait for the second issue, man. This was surprisingly good. Surprisingly good. So, that's my number 3 book of the week. And coming in at number 2 is Alpha Beta's issue number 2. Now I'm gonna tell you, this book is hilarious, awesome. I absolutely love the humor that is in this book. Man, I will say this up front first and foremost. Don't let the cartoonish art fool you. This book is not for kids. The dialogue in here is not kid friendly, so I'm just throwing that out there, just so you know if you're not aware. But with that being said, this book, I like how refreshing, how different the story is. Everything about it is, it's just different. It's new. And what it is these guys right here are part of they become part of the energy division, which is a division, like a department from the government of the country. Because what happens, what nobody knows, is the energy grid in the country is run off of video games, right? So what these guys do is they basically literally go into the video games, because there's hackers and things like that also go into the video games to try to disrupt the energy grid, right? Now the energy grid, each video game is each video game kind of serves a different location or part of the energy grid or whatever throughout the country. So anyway, that's kind of like a rough narrative of this book. But with this story though, it starts off with these guys. They're playing an arcade game in 1982, and I guess for copyright purposes or whatever, they're actually playing Pac-Man. So yeah, so they're in the middle of playing Pac-Man, and these guys walk up as he's playing, and they're like CIA or military, or they're something, and basically they ask him what's his high score, or if he's a high scorer of this game, and he's like, yeah, in a nervous kind of way, he's like, yeah, I'm the high scorer, but I'm also the high scorer. I also own the high score in 2 other games or whatever. And they're like, okay, you coming with us, basically. And so they take him, and they're putting him inside the game. And yeah, so basically that part of the story was like a whole flashback, because he's actually telling the guys right here the story. So basically, you know, they don't say that it's Mario, they don't say that it's Zelda, but you know, they call it it's a little guy with elf ears or something. And so in this particular book, they got to save the energy grid, right? Whatever particular area. So the game we're in now, I'm just going to read it. The game we're in now, Nimbus, powers all of the NICUs on the eastern seaboard. If we can't stop this hacker, there's going to be a lot of dead babies. So there you go. That little panel right there. So yeah, so it's a whole deal. And they kind of hire these guys along because the hacker that they're trying to stop has been kind of like owning the game. Like, he's been stopping everybody for like a week. And on that final boss level or whatever, like, they can't even get to him. So they come in there, they do their thing. I'm gonna narrate this. But yeah, they kind of come in there, they do their thing. They die because they have 3 different lives or whatever. And they end up with 2 lives remaining, each of them. They all die one more time. But yeah, they end up saving the grid. And like this right here, it's hilarious. So this was his 3rd life. When he gets shot, then he's out of the game. Boom, right there. Then he goes back to his computer, or he's in that whatever. So yeah. And they all actually, so they finally stop the hacker, and they all meet up in person or whatever. And this is where they ask if they want to become part of the energy division. And at first, they're like, no. And basically, they kind of threaten them. They're like, so either you take the job, or some random night, when you least expect it, Black Ops elite team drags you off your toilet with a plastic bag over your head, never to be seen again. And they're like, oh yeah, we'll do it, we're in. So yeah, this book is just awesome. I believe it's only going to be a 4-issue series. I really hope we're going to get more after this. But yeah, this is my number 2 book of the week. Man, awesome. Alpha Beta's number 2. And coming in at number 1 is Daredevil, number 5. Now this issue was absolutely awesome. Probably might have been my favorite issue so far out of this Daredevil run. I mean, it starts to give you a good progression on the plan that Elektra and Daredevil have as far as moving forward with the plan for the Fist. So it opens up though. The first page, it opens up with Matt Murdock in there with Leonard having a session, right? And apparently Matt Murdock, or Daredevil, gave his plan, or told his plan to Leonard, and you know, he's like, this is God. Daredevil's like, this is God's plan, and he's following that, and Leonard is like trying to get him to think of a different point of view on this plan, as far as, is it the right plan, and this, that, and the other. And Daredevil, he's like, you know what? Basically, it don't matter. It don't matter because we're gonna save the world. So then you fast forward, you know, the fact that Elektra and Daredevil, they're having this ceremony, they're gonna get married, that unlocks some abilities for them and the entire Fist, and it enhances them and things like that. So what's cool is the Book of the Fist, you know, Elektra's like, is it rewriting itself? And come to find out, no, it's not. The Book of the Fist is not rewriting itself, it's actually coming alive. And you know, it's just awesome. So part of the plan is for, come to find out that they figure out that the Hand with Punisher and everybody, they're actually taking over the world, you know, becoming in control of leaders of the world, and you know, all for the Beast, right? And Elektra, she wants to go handle that aspect of it, but Daredevil, he's like, no, we need to do this first, then we'll get to that. And he's like, our army's going to be stronger and bigger tomorrow. So the plan to build that army is they go to Myrmidon, which is a prison in the middle of the ocean for... They're just filled with prisoners, right? So they fly in there and they break in, basically. And I guess that's how they're going to build their army, because he's like, all right, you know what? We're going to help you guys save yourself. You need healing. You might not realize it, but you need saving. Follow us. We'll show you the way. That's how he's going to build his army, or build their army. And in the process, there's some surprises. There really is. So you have, let me get to it. you have a big fight that breaks out. John Walker comes in, right? And in a nutshell, Daredevil handles John Walker, like takes him out, and he even takes his shield. Now, the surprising part of this book is at the end of it, at the very end of it, you have Captain America and Iron Man watching everything unfold on surveillance. Like, they tapped in there. And the book ends with Captain America saying, we're going to bring Daredevil in. So the Avengers, they're going to get into the mix somehow in the midst of all this. Unless it's just going to be part of a separate arc. I don't know. But they got to get through this thing first with the fist and the hand and the Punisher and all that. So they got to... I don't feel like this arc is going to end necessarily soon. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I'm kind of confused with the Avengers stepping into this at the end of this book. So, all that being said, man, this is a great book, great issue. It leaves you hanging on and wanting more. At least it did for me. And I'm excited, man. I can't wait for issue number 6 to come out. So, Daredevil number 5, man. That's my top book of the week. So that's my top 3 of the week. Let me know what you think, man. I think Daredevil came in strong, man. Daredevil came in strong. Alpha Betas, though, that was solid, man. Alpha Betas was solid. If Daredevil wasn't there, depending on the week, man, Alpha Betas 2 could have been a number 1. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of my top 3. What was your top 3? I'm going to go ahead and leave a video right here. Check it out. And I'm going to catch y'all on the flip side. Boom.